Hi! Come on back to my garden. Iris is a genus of over 300 species of flowering plants. The name comes from the Greek word meaning rainbow, and that's probably because there are so many colors of irises. They are perennial plants, and they have creeping rhizomes. They usually have tall stems and 3 to 10 sword-shaped leaves. Irises have 6 lobes to their flower. 3 of them point downward, and those are called sepals or falls. And they have what they call the beard, or the little hairy part that's in the center midline. The 3 parts of the flower that go upward are called petals. I have Siberian iris and bearded iris and some Dutch iris bulbs that bloom in the real early spring with the daffodils. This iris is one of my favorites. My friend Mary gave to me, and when I look at it, it makes me think of a lady's petticoat or something like an old-fashioned skirt with the fluffy ruffled edges. But the really lovely thing about this flower is when you smell it, because most irises don't smell this good. Oh, it's just so fragrant. Beautiful. Irises are designed perfectly for pollination. It's a great relationship between flower and flying insect. The little flying insect can land right here on the bearded part of the iris, and the pollen will collect where it needs to go on this flower from another flower. Yet when it goes all the way in and comes back out, the pollen doesn't come off the insect because of the smooth side that it rubs against, and then the insect can carry it off to another flower for pollination. This iris is very special because it came from my grandmother White, and she always loved purple. And it's called a bearded iris, and I love that it's got a couple of different colors, a little bit of purple, a little bit of white. I have a couple others to show you. This iris is a little different than the last one. It doesn't have the white in the middle, but you can see it's got the same, also a bearded iris with the same type of a blossom. These irises are even different than the other ones, and they are one of my favorites, but how pretty they are with the little yellow beard and then the purple as you get later down the flower petal. With the nice warm weather we've been getting, the irises go by so quickly, but then new ones come. But I like to remove the old blossom just like that, and it looks so much better as we enjoy the new ones as they pop out. This one's a little smaller and a little bluer, not quite as purple as the others. I hope you can see it. It is a little bit smaller than the other one, and lots of new buds coming along. I usually deadhead as we go. These irises are special because they came from my friend Edie, and they've really been taking off. They like it here in my garden, and I want to show you a comparison. They're a nice yellow, but I have a different yellow, so I'm going to cut one and show you over here compared to the other yellow how very different they are. So this is a different iris that I had a long time. I can't remember where I got it from, but it really is a little bit bigger than the one Edie gave me, and it has a really orangey beard compared to the other yellow iris. Each is just a little different. You may have some of these. They are the Siberian irises. They're different than the bearded iris, and they're really easy to grow. If you don't already have some, you should try to grow some because they're easy to grow. I like to deadhead them afterwards, but they're just such a pretty show of color. And this is the common one that most people have in their gardens, but my friend Helen gave me this beautiful white one. Same plant, but it's white flowers. Well, this garden path has a lot of little volunteers of the rose campion, which is a beautiful flower, but it's hard to walk through the path when they're growing in the middle of it. So what I'm going to show you that I like to do is to they're growing in between the stones. So I take my trowel, I try to get as much root as I can, even though sometimes it's tricky, and pull them up, and then I'm going to plant those in a nice group. There's a little bit of that iris growing in there too. See, some of the plants will reseed from the garden and they land right in the little stone, the cracks in the stone path. But if we can get some of the root like I'm getting here, and those I can nicely plant rose campion into my garden in a nice spot, and they won't get walked on, and they'll give me a nice, colorful, bright fuchsia colored flower. Earlier this spring, I was showing you these irises before they got this big, and I showed you how to lift and pull up one of the plants if you wanted to transplant it. This looks like an awful mess, but I wanted to show you before I tidied it up what I usually do. This happened because the irises were all standing up nicely yesterday, and then we had a good hard rain. So their heads got heavier with the rain, and they all leaned over. So what I do is try to put them back up with my little stakes. I've got quite a few of these, and I use them year after year, so once you invest in them, you have them, and you can use them every year. Of course, they get tangled like this. But each one looks like this, a long stick with a loop on the end, and it's got an opening so you can put the stem of the iris in there. I stick them in close to where the stem comes out of the ground. Once they're secure, I bring the iris up and loop it in. And usually you don't really notice the stem, the holder. It kind of blends in. Here's the second one, and I lift that guy up, and there he is. Looks a lot better. Take that dead head off. And they still have a little, I like them to look natural, but they definitely are better when they're up again the way they were meant to go. Well, by mistake, I broke this one off, but you know what? It makes a beautiful flower arrangement. If I wait too long from when they drop down, they begin to grow in sort of a bent shape like this one has already. So it looks kind of funny when I stand it back up. So you don't want to wait too long. You want to get them right back up after they've fallen down. So whether you decide you like Siberian iris like these, or bearded iris like I showed you earlier, or Japanese iris, there's a lot of colors and types of irises to choose from, and I think you'll enjoy them. If you don't already have irises in your garden, you ought to give them a try. Until next time, I'll see you later. Happy gardening.